After a wild race at Monza the week before, the 1UP Superstar Series is back stateside at Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the running of the South Point 400. It's a beautiful day here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and these cars are ready to do battle at over 200 miles per hour. It's going to be a massive thrill ride for everybody involved in this race. Alongside me in the booth today is Ryan Griffin for today's race, and sure know your way around this place for after the truck race, and this is going to be a whole new challenge for these superstar drivers. They've been here before, but I don't think they've ever been here going as fast as they have been here today.
I haven't. Vegas is not normally. You wouldn't think when you come to Vegas that speed would be a factor, but this track can sneak up on you when it comes to speed. I mean, you really don't know how fast you're going here until, well, I hate to say this or put a X on anything, but you really don't know until you wreck how fast you're really going, and it's something that it's always in the back of your mind. And I mean, Vegas has the Nellis Air Force Base right behind it here on the backstretch, and if we talk about speeds and well, there's your equivalency in speed. You got the jets taking off from Nellis, and these cars are going to look like jets today.
And now we look at the starting lineup for today's South Point 400 with speeds of over 205 miles per hour. There's no room for error, and that's exactly how Bobo Jones managed to get pole position, his first of the season. And he lines up alongside Justin Hutchinson, who won both races here a year ago. I'm sure Hutchinson would want to go 3 for 3, but he's going to have a lot of drivers to contend with here, including Jones on pole. Lane Sanders lines up in the third position. William Brock and Jeff Bolton round out the top 5. And remember, Stephen Hunter starting 8th. He was in a harrowing crash here a year ago that sidelined his season for a while. He's hoping to retame this mile-and-a-half track and make it his own, but he's going to have to pass a lot of strong challenges to make it happen. And with that being said, we've got 41 of the series' best drivers lined up on the grid. We're ready to bring you 81 laps from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. This is the 1UP Superstar Series from Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and the green flag is next, mere moments away. Stay tuned, folks. You're not going to want to miss a second of the action that's about to unfold. With Bobo Jones on the inside lane, Justin Hutchinson on the outside lane. Hutchinson going for 3 in a row here at Las Vegas. We're about to find out if he can do it. The green flag is out. We are underway for 81 laps at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and it looks like they're pretty even as far as the front two go, but I think Bobo Jones is just going to get a slight advantage here going into turn 1. We'll see what Lane Sanders can do now that he's brought himself up to second.
Sanders in that 41 going to take advantage using the inside. Again, the inside lane is probably the preferred lane here, but Vegas is a track kind of like Bristol a couple weeks ago, where a second lane can develop as you go, but it all depends on what the drivers are willing to do today. And Yepes going to try. Oh, I thought Yepes was going to make it 3 wide there for a second, but Sanders out front now in the 41.
Lane Sanders takes the lead in the 41 Dodge. Going to see if he can lead his first laps at Las Vegas. He rounds turn 4. Speed's rapidly climbing here, and now Lane Sanders leads lap number 2, and the average of this race already approaching 200 miles per hour after just 2 laps, as Jeff Bolton now gets pushed up high by Jeffrey Finguy and J.Q. Halleck. Roberto Crown Jr. trying to slide through in the 81 as well. Bolton started 5th in this race, but he's dropping back pretty quickly here as we got another battle for the lead. Jones trying to take the lead back.
Jones in that 04, and I'm already noticing it myself. The auto manufacturers here, the Ford versus, it's a classic rivalry, Ford versus Chrysler up here. You got the two Dodges of the 04 and the 41, and then you have the Fords of the 10 and the 92. So you get a little age-old Dodge versus Ford rivalry here.
First Toyota in this race, J.Q. Halleck running 5th versus Chevrolet, Ben McDonnell running 9th. We've got all 4 makes represented in the top 10, but it's Bobo Jones' Dodge leading the way for the time being. Jones has yet to get a top 10 finish this season. He's hoping to get it here. He's always really good when the speeds are at their highest, and this is one of the fastest tracks we go to that's not a super speedway. as Bobo Jones rounds corner number 4 to complete lap number 5. He stays out in front for the time being as the top 5 have gone fairly single file and broken away from the rest of the pack.
And it's all about building momentum. When you have a track that's as fast as Vegas is, it's all about building momentum, and you just want to be going forward. And you use the analogy, it's the fastest track that isn't a plate track, but you can almost use a plate analogy in the fact that you want to keep your momentum up and you want to keep building your run. You see the 4-car now to the inside of the 92. So you want to, as you can see here with the 10, staying tucked up right behind the 04, keeping the draft, not trying to duck out yet, and try to, I guess you could say, build that potential, build that momentum, and finally you feel like you got enough where you can bust out and break drag, you can pull inside of somebody. You see Sanders now doing the same thing to the 10. And so it's about keeping your momentum up, keeping your speed, and as much, yeah, I know we sound like we're going to beat a dead horse to death today, I guess, with saying speed, but when you're running this fast, you have to keep your momentum up. And as you can see there,
yeah, it looks like Justin Hutchinson had to back out of that move right there. So, for the time being, Bobo Jones continues to lead the way in the Monster Energy Dodge, but with Justin Hutchinson breathing down his neck, trying to get the lead back, it's going to be very interesting to see, because Justin Hutchinson, like we said at the beginning, has won both races here last year. He knows how to win these races, and he's going to try and make a move on Jones right here, going in the 3.
Look, he's going to see if he can try to do, again, he stuttered the first time he tried it, but this time it looks like he is going to clear the 04 clear, and the 10 car will take the point.
Justin Hutchinson gets the lead for the first time all afternoon on lap number 9, and Hutchinson is right back where he feels he should be in these Las Vegas races. Like you keep saying, he won both the spring and fall races here last year, his only 2 wins of 2021. He's hoping to reestablish himself on familiar hunting ground here. Going to try and get win number 1 of this season, but he's got a lot of challengers behind him, like Bobo Jones, J.Q. Halleck, Jeffrey Finguy moving Lane Sanders out of the way. The 41 slips back to 5th now, and everybody else behind. These guys are all hungry for a win, especially those at the front of the field, like Halleck and like William Brockenay, who have not won a race before.
Tell you what, that 4-car, I talked about building momentum. That 4-car is momentum right now. He's passed about 2 cars. I mean, he was looking there a minute at the 04 and then thought didn't have enough of a run to get around the 04, but man, he's motoring right now.
He's trying to close down the 04 of Bobo Jones to try and take 2nd spot away and maybe challenge for the lead later on in this race. But right now, it's a bit early to think about making moves. So J.Q. Halleck perfectly content to run behind these guys, try and save a little fuel, because this is one of the highest fuel consumption tracks on the schedule. As we see, the back of the field is now already almost half a lap behind the race leaders right now. So, yeah, I've been saying, this is one of the highest fuel consumption tracks we go to. Fuel burns here really quickly. We're going to see a pit stop in this race, probably around lap 50 to 55, but it's going to be a very interesting pit sequence because tires don't fall off that much here. It's all about pitting for fuel, so realistically, it doesn't matter as much when you come in the pit road, it just matters about execution on pit road.
Yeah, when you're talking about a track where the speeds are the way they are, you're going to burn more fuel, but what that does as far as strategy is you got to be careful how much fuel you're using, because you want to be able to make it as soon as your window opens. You want to make pit road, especially if we don't see any cautions today, which Vegas is kind of hit or miss when it comes to cautions. You could have a caution fest, you could have one that just goes green, but it's going to be a matter of just getting to that window. When you hit pit road here, but Vegas is probably one of the toughest pit roads to get onto, and you got to be careful when you come around 3 and 4. Make sure you roll up. Make sure you don't speed. Make sure you watch it around you. It's a tough pit road to get onto, and being mistake-free could be the difference between is going to be a factor in who wins and loses this race today, for sure.
Absolutely. As we see Jeffrey Finguy start to drop a little bit, he falls back to 5th. Ben Mcdonnell in the 12th moves up to 4th. This is Mcdonnell's best run of the 2022 season so far, having a solid run in the top 5, the highest running Chevrolet right now. As a matter of fact, all 4 manufacturers in our series currently filling the top 4 spots. A Ford leads a Toyota, and a Dodge in 3rd, followed by a Chevrolet. So we've got manufacturer parity at the front, which is what we like to see. It's just a matter of who's going to get the edge at the end of the race, because Hutchinson's showing he's got a very fast car, but I would not count out J.Q. Halleck or Bobo Jones in this one. They have fast cars under them as well. They just have to find the track position to make good use of it.
And as I said, it's also going to come down to the pit stop too, and what team, and also with all 4 manufacturers up here, which manufacturers going to get the best fuel mileage today too, because that could play a factor when you pit and who comes out on top here once the stops are cycled through.
Here comes J.Q. Halleck with a move for the lead on Justin Hutchinson. This is going to be the first real challenge Hutchinson's had, but it looks like the challenge is going to fade away. Halleck has to lift out of the gas just a little bit. Ideally, you want to go full throttle around this 1.5-mile racetrack at over 205 miles per hour. But sometimes you just can't manage to make that work. You have to lift off just a little bit, and that will cost you time to those around you who are able to make it the whole lap full gas.
It's funny you bring that up, because that's one of 2 things I could bring up here, or points I could make here. First of all, I'm noticing with the leader, we talked about, or I mentioned the outside lane and how some tracks you could build in an outside lane, whereas it seems like back in the pack, the outside is not really doing much in terms of passing. If you're the leader, it seems like you're able to maintain that lead, especially off the corner where you can carry the momentum. You can stay on that top lane and hold off the charge from the inside at least for a lap or 2. And the other thing you mentioned about throttle, that's what's really going to be a difference maker today. It's who can stay on the throttle the longest. And personally, as a race car driver, I like throttle play on track. So as much as I like this racetrack, I love Las Vegas, I love coming here, to see, where you're wide open all the time, it does seem like it takes a little bit out of the driver's hands. However, we'll see the cars that can stay wide open, the drivers that can stay in the throttle most of the time are the ones that are going to be more toward the front, versus, the guys at the back that may have handling problems that can't put the throttle all the way down or keep it consistently all the way down.
We're now looking at Ben Mcdonnell in the 12, currently in the 5th position. He's going to try and help Jeffrey Finguy get around pole sitter Bobo Jones here in the 04. The whole field separated by about 7 seconds right now. And currently the gap out front is getting smaller. It's down to about 1/4 of a second between Hutchinson and Halleck. It's going to be very interesting to see who can prevail in this one, as we got a little bit of a pack forming here with Mcdonnell, Finguy, Sanders, Brock, Ortiz, and defending series champion Christian Vargas behind. All 6 of these guys are racing for the 4th position, and they've got even more challengers behind them. But the gap at the top of the table is going down. Halleck is on a charge.
I see. I was just talking again about the outside lane, and I saw it with the 04, and I just saw it there with the 92. It seems like if you're at the head of a line of cars, that you can carry the momentum on that top side and maintain the position, because the 04 was being challenged by the 12 back there, and he shot around the outside and cleared him, and then the 12 was like, no, it was the 92 was looking inside of the 04, sorry, that was Finguy that was looking inside of the 04, my bad. And the 12 then went and started looking inside the 92, and the 92 used the high side like the 04 and maintained the position and held off the 12. So I think there is an outside lane there if you're at the head of the pack, but if you're behind it, you're gonna want to stay on the inside trying to pass somebody.
Our average speed in this race is absolutely absurd. We're closing in on 210 miles per hour average speed around this Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That is insane for these cars to navigate. But amazingly, we have not had a single accident in the first 26 laps so far. I don't want to jinx it or anything, but we're doing a really good job of keeping these cars clean at such high speeds. As now Lane Sanders is under fire from both Christian Vargas in the 54 and William Brock in the 93. Brock moves to the inside of Sanders to challenge for the 7th position on the track. He's got help from Miles Mashburn behind him, but back at the front of the field, the gap continues to go down between Hutchinson and Halleck, and now Bobo Jones starting to creep back into the picture as well. all three of these guys I feel have really fast cars, and it's just a matter of who can be out front at the right moment.
Not only do they have fast cars, they have good handling cars too, as we can tell definitely by the 04 right now as he's caught these two. To where, again, we were talking about throttle and you want to stay in the throttle as much as long as you can with the speeds they're turning. And as we can obviously see, these three cars at the front are probably the best handling cars at the moment because they're able to stay in the throttle the longest, and that's why they are where they are. And Finn Guy and the 12 looks like they've caught these three as well. So now we got 5 cars in a line here. And then this is where it gets interesting because, again, you're full throttle. It's like, where do you find the extra push to try to pass somebody, especially when you're in that lead group of 5?
Now looking beyond that group of 5 and beyond Christian Vargas at 6th, we briefly see a battle between William Brack and Lane Sanders before we focus now back onto the first 5 because they're all running under a blanket within 4/10 of each other are the top 5. Hutchinson, of course, has won before. He's won this race a year ago, and the one in the fall for good measure. J.Q. Halleck has not won a race in their career. Bobo Jones hasn't won a race in a long time. Jeffrey Finguy, of course, won at Bristol a few weeks ago, and Ben Mcdonnell hasn't won in a few years. So, a lot of different stories in the top 5. It's just going to be interesting to see who wants it more among these front 5 because they seem to be pulling away from 6th place Christian Vargas.
It's funny you mentioned it. I'm wondering if I'm going to get a phone call from Finn Guy because, this is the second race I've been in the booth here, and he's running near the front of the field again, just like he was at Bristol. Am I going to be his good luck charm for these races now?
It certainly looks like a good omen for the 92 team. Currently running 4th, which is not a bad position to be in, especially if, like Bristol, the C's part for the 92, and an accident happens late, he can slice through traffic and snatch the lead away late. But I have a feeling this one's going to be a little harder because Justin Hutchinson and J.Q. Halleck are absolutely in tandem with each other across the start-finish line. The start lap 34. We're closing in on halfway. We've yet to see a yellow flag, and I fully expect pit stops to be coming within the next 15 laps or so.
Or the patience on the four of Halleck right now because he's actually doing a smart thing here. He's staying tucked in behind the 10, and they're actually pulling away from the other 3. And it's because he's tucked up behind that 10, slipstreaming, not trying to duck out. Obviously, you don't want any drag if you're wheel drive on your car. You want no drag, so you're tucked in behind the car in front of you. You're already full throttle, so it's not like you can pull out. It's not like you can pull out and not slow yourself down if you pull out. So for Halleck, the best thing you can do is exactly what he's doing. It's just ride behind the 10. No reason. We're not even halfway yet. Just kind of, maybe... He may not be right at this point, as it looks like he's going to try to duck out. It looked like he had a look on Hutchinson there. I don't know if he didn't do anything with it, but yeah, his best move is to be right where he is. Just stay tucked up behind the 10, pull away, see if you can get gap enough, so then maybe you could go ahead and maybe attempt to pass on the 10. I think that's what he tried to do down in 1 and 2.
This is a very enthralling battle we've got here between a driver with 4 career wins and a driver with 0 career wins. Justin Hutchinson looking for his 5th career win and his first of 2022. J.Q. Halleck looking for win number 1 of their career. It would be a huge boost for the Revolution Racing camp to see their 3rd entry to form just this year make it to victory lane, and it would also enter Halleck into the 1-Up All-Star race in a few weeks' time. That'll be an interesting third to keep an eye on as we look now further back through the field, just outside the top 10. And we go right back to the front of the field now, with Ben Mcdonnell trying to challenge Jeffrey Finguy for the 4th spot. Nothing doing there for now, but it looks like Halleck and Hutchinson are starting to get caught by Bobo Jones, Finguy, and Mcdonnell here. The top 5 are starting to condense once again.
I have to make note of it because you pointed it out. When you're on that racetrack as a driver, it doesn't matter if that guy in front of you has 4 wins or 0 wins. That's your competition. You're racing them. You got to beat them anyway. It doesn't matter how many wins you have. And right now the playing field is equal when you're out on that racetrack. Nobody's won this race yet. So I mean, the playing field is equal. You're out there, you're doing the best, and for Halleck, he doesn't. It doesn't matter. Hutchinson's got 4 wins. He's like, I want that win. I want this race. I got to do what I got to do to put myself in a position. I'm not worried about the fact that he's won 3 or 4 races. I'm worried about putting myself in a position to capitalize and get that first win.
And we are halfway home at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We look now briefly at the back of the field. They're closing in on being about a half a lap back. Now J.Q. Halleck trying to make a move on the inside of Justin Hutchinson, but is it going to work this time?
I don't think it's going to. 1 and 2 looks to be the sweet spot if they can get enough of a run into turn 1. But 3 and 4 looks like if at least you're leading the line, it looks like you're able to maintain out of 3 and 4. So I don't think if that. I understand why he tried it. He had enough of a gap behind him to where you could fall back in line, which he did, and not lose a position out of it. But if you can tell that Halleck is getting a little antsy here, and he's trying to see if he can get the 10 as he gets these runs to the 10.
And now we got to start thinking about pit stop. They're under 10 laps away at this point. It's going to be very interesting to see who bites first and who stays out a little longer, hoping for a yellow flag. We saw this in the Nitro National Series race at Hillside a few weeks ago, or it was only last week, where a caution came out in the middle of a green flag pit cycle, and it completely changed the complexion of that race. We'll see if it happens here again. It's going to be very interesting to keep an eye on that, because you never know what will happen in this series. As now we look back, you see Duke Anzac in the 83 battling Lane Sanders for what looks like the 9th position. So Sanders in danger. He's running the top 10 all race long, but he could be in danger of falling out of it because he's got a very hungry pack of challengers behind him, including Jeff Bolton, Daniel Bouchard, Sam Donato, and Jake McMillan as well.
I'd be curious to see if we could almost see the throttle trace on that 41, because it might be a case of what we were talking about earlier, that his car, obviously they qualified good. He started 3rd, but it might be a matter of his car may not be handling as good as the ones up front, where he wasn't able to stay on the throttle like these guys were, and he just kind of fell off this group, and he's fallen to where he is now. So
this pack of cars battling it out just outside the top 10. They are currently battling for the 13th position. Daniel Bouchard goes a little high. That allows Sam Donato to get through. Nick Ortiz in the 91 powers by. And Diego Yepes, Stephen Gale, they're battling back there. Kail Tescar Jr., the Monza winner from last week, he's back there in the 02. And Stephen Hunter, who's trying to redeem himself after that dreadful crash here a year ago, currently in the 17th position. Hopefully he'll be able to improve on that by the end of this race. But back up front, it's currently his 2 teammates, Halleck and Vargas, running in the top 6. And now Vargas is caught up to the top 5 all the race long. So now it's a 6-car battle for the lead.
And it's interesting too. You mentioned Vargas, and Vargas caught this group again. A single car running by itself, you don't have to play with the throttle as much as if you're in a line of cars where you have to check out for somebody that may be checking up a little bit. Vargas was able to just stay full throttle. He caught the draft of the 12 and just rode right up to this group. So now you got another added player. But as we were just seeing there with the leaders between the 10 and the 4, again, those 2 cars I think are, from what I've seen, the 2 strongest cars at this point, and they can just. It seems like if they get hooked together, they just seem to pull away from these other 4 for a little bit, and then, this pack will come together again. These 4 will come together in the line, and that pack runs down the 2. But as the 12 starts to look on Finn Guy here, but again, inside in 3 and 4, we have not really seen a lot of passing there. He's going to try it. He's probably the best we've seen anybody alongside somebody off the 3 and 4.
Looks like
he's going to 1 and 2.
We'll see if he can make a run at it. He might need some help from Vargas to get there, but I think he's actually going to stay alongside Finn Guy, Ben McDonnell.
And you see with as far up as he is now, well, Finn Guy got better run in the 3 and 4. I think. Oh no, they're about. You see, anytime I think something's going to happen, the opposite happens. But and the 12 will get the spot. But I'm going to say, there comes a point where if you're if you can pull at least a full car alongside the guy that's on your outside, you should be able to get around him. Unless something really checks you up, you should be able to get around him. But we've seen the outside line, especially if somebody's leading a line of cars, be able to maintain. That's why it's hard for me to judge which way that was going to go.
And right now, the pit window is open, and it should be very busy within the next lap or so. These cars are gasping for fumes right now, and I'm sure they would love nothing more than to pull in, get some 4 fresh ones, top it off with fuel. It looks like JQ Halleck and Bobo Jones are going to be the first ones on the pit road. Yes. So, Halleck, Jones, Mcdonnell, and Finguy, they are the first of the leaders to pit. It looks like Christian Vargas and Justin Hutchinson will be staying on the racetrack an extra lap here. That's going to be an interesting thing to keep an eye out for here. As now, oh, we got some smoke here on the pit lane. Oh, Andres Molina in the 7, so with a lot of damage on that 7. Could this be something similar to what happened at Monza last week? And it looks like, once again, the victim of that incident, Andres Molina, of course, out of the race. But critically, Zachary Fitzwater, for the second week in a row, has significant rear-end damage to that 59. He's going to tumble down the order pretty fast here.
I was going to make mention to it because I saw as they were coming to pit road talk about pit road entry here. It looked like almost the 12 almost did the same thing to the 92 as we just saw happen with the 7 there. But I was gonna say, you got to be careful getting onto this pit road because of how you're basically coming around the corner as you come to pit road. So it's a difficult pit road to get to, and you can't make mistakes coming to pit road. And the 14 looked like they had a pretty solid stop. Looks like the 04 had a pretty solid stop.
And right now, the rest of the leaders
10 is already left, yeah.
Yeah, Fitzwater does exit the pits, but he's going to be well behind everybody else because he had a slow start trying to repair some of that damage sustained from the contact with Molina in the 7. But Hutchinson, he might be able to get out ahead of Halleck here. Hutchinson's still coming up to speed, though. Halleck's closing in a big hurry. Going to try and make that outside work, but I think Hutchinson's just barely going to hold on to the top spot here.
Yeah, it looks like in pretty much the interval looks like it's going to be about the same as prior to when they pitted too. So really, a lap difference between the two of them really actually didn't do much. It really didn't change the order up that much. I mean, the top 3 remained the same, and the interval was really about the same. So I guess we know who the strong cars are because they're right back where they were. So, and the pit crews did their job because we maintained. So we'll have to see if they made any adjustments on Halleck's car, if he can actually make a pass on Hutchinson now. Because really, he's been pretty much playing his, he's going to have nightmares about the back of that race car, that 10 car, unless he can get around him.
Yeah, look at this battle for 3 wide in the middle of the pack here, in the midfield. We're looking for Jared Polanski. There he is in the 18. He had a slow stop as well that dropped him off the lead lap. Second week in a row he's run into issues in this race, but he's got a win under his belt at Atlanta. He should be able to rebound from this soon enough. But at the front of the field, it is the same 4 cars we have been talking about pretty much since the drop of the green flag. Justin Hutchinson, JQ Halleck, Bobo Jones, and Ben Mcdonnell. They've managed to drop Christian Vargas and Jeffrey Finguy from their group. Now it's only a group of 4 battling it out. We're closing in on 20 laps to go. Any one of them could be your race winner when it's all said and done.
I know we just went through a pit cycle, so it'll take a minute for things to adjust, but I've noticed two names. We mentioned Sanders earlier that kind of was falling to the edge of the edge. He was on the edge of the top. He was on the lower end of the top 10 and almost fallen out of the top 10. Well, now he's out of the top 10. And the other one I noticed too, because I noticed him in that 3 wide battle, was Bolton. Bolton started in the top 10, and he's another one that fell out of the top 10. So, yeah, this race is, while we've seen these guys up here, pretty much up here the whole time, there has been changes back there in the top 10, really the lower half of the top 10, to see some names fall out and some names jump in. Like I see, is that the Monza winner there in 10th?
That's Kail Tescar Jr. in the 02. He has climbed into the top 10, as has Jake McMillan in the 21. Those two probably joining the top 10 at the expense of Sanders and Bolton. But now, I think we're going to have a genuine lead change here because JQ Halleck is alongside Justin Hutchinson, and they've got a lot of help from Bobo Jones in the 04. They're coming off a turn 4 side by side with 20 laps to go. I think Halleck's going to have a good shot at taking the lead right here going in the water.
He should, and then I can see he's got the 59 of Fitzwater ahead of him, but he should clear. Yeah, he did obviously clear Hutchinson before that. So I was going to say he almost could have used Fitzwater as a pick if they got close enough to him, but instead he clears him, and it looks like Hutchinson's going to have to try to hold on a second here. I don't know what happened to Hutchinson. I mean, it just all of a sudden, like, he just lost his, again, as we were talking about, he probably had to burp the throttle, and he burped the throttle that little bit, and when he did, the 4 seized it, and now the 12 trying to take advantage. He did take advantage. The 12 to second.
Yep. Now Hutchinson drops back through the field, and Halleck now all over the back of Zachary Fitzwater. This is probably going to be an easy pass to make. Fitzwater with damage, obviously, but this is the first time Halleck's been in the lead all race long, and they really need to just manage, because they've got a pretty solid lead now over Mcdonnell, but as I say that, the lead is starting to shrink, but Halleck doing a pretty solid job of staying out in front, but Ben McDonnell, as we all know, is very hungry for another win. His last win was at Phoenix 2 years ago, so it would be a very big day if Ben McDonnell were to get back to victory lane. And Bobo Jones in the 04, he hasn't won since Bristol of 2020. So Jones hasn't won in a long time either. Wouldn't that be something to get Monster Motorsports their first win here at Las Vegas? Hutchinson, though, he wants to make it 3 in a row for that 10 car at this track. And now he gets back around Ben McDonnell to establish himself into the second position once again.
And like I said, I think more than likely what happened at 10 is he all he had to do, the track had to be run for a throttle. All it has to be is just for a brief moment. If he just get a little hairy off the corner where you have to burp the throttle, and he probably had to burp the throttle, and that's when the 4 took the opportunity. Now, as you can see, now he's been able to get back in the throttle and keep it full throttle. He got back around the 12, or he held off the 04, he got back around the 12, and now he's out after the 4 here again. So whatever it was, Halleck seized his opportunity. As I said, that's what you got to do when you're right behind somebody for much of this race. You kind of wait for your opportunity. You seize your opportunity, you seize it, and he did. But now he's really going to have to hold off this 10, because this 10 is back on his bumper, and he wants that lead back.
Hutchinson trying to become the first driver to win 3 in a row at one track. He's got to work for it this time now, as JQ Halleck now holds a mere hundredths lead over the Finish Line Motorsports driver. Halleck trying to give Revolution Racing their first win of the season, and I'm sure if you asked a lot of people before the start of the season who would give Revolution Racing their first win of the season, I'm not sure many people would have picked this 4 car to be the one to do it, but they've got a pretty good position right now. We're closing in on 10 laps to go. I know Hutchinson and Jones and McDonnell, they're all still there, but JQ Halleck in a very good position to get career win number 1 here.
It's really going to be interesting to see here. For much of this race, it's been the opposite. It was the 4 trailing the 10. Now the 10 is behind the 4. Now is the first real opportunity we're going to see. I mean, we saw the 10 get back past the cars that passed him. Can he get around this 4 car the way the 4 got around him? Or is he going to have to wait for, a mistake out of the 4 like what the 4 did to him? Is he going to have to wait for a mistake to make something happen? And you got a couple of lap cars ahead. We're going to catch them probably before the end of the race. So that could play a factor in whether Hutchinson can get back around Halleck.
With now 12 laps to go here in the South Point 400, and JQ Halleck always slow.
There's a stutter,
and it's more than just a stutter. That's a flat on the 4 of JQ Halleck. An absolute heartbreak for the driver of the Royal Purple Toyota Camry. Their hopes of winning their first career race have just gone down the tubes with a flat tire on lap 70. And it's all JQ Halleck can do now to limp it back to the pits, put some 4 fresh ones on, try to salvage something out of this race. But man, you gotta feel for that number 4 driver. Did everything right today, was leading on with 10 to go, but the racing gods dealt them a bad hand, and they'll have to look forward to Road America next time.
And as a driver, you hate that feeling, something goes wrong, and you go from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows that quickly, and you feel for him. I mean, it's not to say he would have been able to hold off the 10. The 10 was on his bumper. We don't know if the 10 would have been able to get back by him, but meanwhile, look at the we got a swarm now here at the front of the field now with these front-running guys. And hey, where'd the 83 come from?
Yeah, the 83, Duke Ansack, has mounted a late charge here as JQ Halleck exits the pits. It looks like they'll actually be able to rejoin right with the lead group again. So Halleck may still be able to have a say in who wins this race. It's not going to be the 4 car itself, but they may be able to help decide, as now Mcdonnell tries to go around the outside of Halleck to put him another lap down. But if Mcdonnell stays up top, will Duke Ansack or Bobo Jones pose a challenge? They're going 3 wide for second here.
That's 3 wide. The 10 definitely had a look there. It wasn't enough of a look to get inside the 04. And now, with the 4 car being up here, now you have a car that was fast that's up here. You don't necessarily have a slow lap car here, so this is really going to make this interesting.
Now, though, it looks like the 12 and the 83 have managed to lap JQ Halleck here, and I don't know if the other cars are going to be able to get around the 4 in a big hurry. So now it might become a 1v1 battle between Ben Mcdonnell in the 12 and Duke Ansack in the 83. Both looking for their first win of the season. This is just going to be a very interesting battle to keep an eye on, as now we're closing in on 5 laps to go in this race. 6 to go now.
Talking about the 4 car being up there, right now he's got the manufacturer car in front of him that actually has a chance to win this race now. He's going to try to help him get the lead here.
Coming through 3 and 4, Duke Ansack trying to take the lead for the first time all afternoon. Going to try and make his way underneath Ben Mcdonnell, who has no help on the outside line. Duke Ansack coming across the stripe. He'll lead that lap by an inch over Ben Mcdonnell. And now Justin Hutchinson's going to try and see if he can't make his way forward in this 10. His bid to win 3 in a row at Vegas still very much alive with 4.5 laps to go. Anything can still happen in this race. But at this point, a caution flag now would bring the end of the race with it. So the next flag will end the race. The question is, who's going to be out front when that happens?
You see, here's the issue now with the 4 car being up in here. The 4 car is fast. It's not a slow. I already said that he's a fast car. He's not a slow lap car. But this obviously creates a hindrance for the leaders who are trying to race among themselves for it. And I hate to say it is almost a courtesy as a driver. I understand you're trying to race for something before you're a little upset after the issue, but you can't be in the middle of these guys right now and really affect the finish like this. Granted, it looks like they may catch lap traffic or more lap traffic before the end of this, but right now, honestly, Halleck is doing the best he can do in the situation he is, and that is help the manufacturer teammate. Help the manufacturer teammate, or if he had a teammate up there, try to help the teammate. But, yeah, he's going to try to help this 83 car, but, God, that 10 car, here he is back in the picture again. He's rolling right back up on these 2, and he may still have a say here with 2 to go.
The closest teammate JQ Halleck has is Christian Vargas, who is over a second behind in 7th. Now, Hutchinson's not going to want to wait. He's going to try and get around Halleck right here to try and set up a late race pass on Duke Ansack. We're coming to the white flag this time, and Hutchinson's still stuck behind the 4. 1 more lap to go from Las Vegas. Duke Ansack's in a pretty good position right now.
Yeah, the 4 car is the best thing right now for the 83. I think the 83's got this one won.
We got one slowing on the apron of the racetrack. It's Anderson Reed in the 15. They've got a flat as well. But coming through 3 and 4 for the final time, Duke Ansack, after being nowhere this entire race, is going to slice through the field and take an improbable victory here at the South Point 400. Duke Ansack wins at Las Vegas for his 3rd career win, his 1st of the season. And Justin Hutchinson, well, his winning streak at Las Vegas has come to an end. He will finish 2nd as we now look to see Anderson Reed with another flat tire at the end of this race. He was running at the back anyway, but not at all what you want to end your race on for the Sinclair Canada Racing Team. They will assuredly be talking with the Ford group to diagnose and see if their issues are the same issue, but Justin Hutchinson, like I said, he will finish 2nd. Bobo Jones gets his first top 10 of the season in 3rd. Ben Mcdonnell, likewise, 4th. Kail Tescar Jr. came out of nowhere as well to rack up his second top 5 in a row. Jeffrey Finguy gets 6th ahead of Christian Vargas 7th. William Brock, first top 10 of the year for him, in 8th ahead of J.D. Martin. We didn't talk about him all day long. He comes home 9th ahead of Jake McMillan, rounding out the top 10. I always say it, these races can change in an instant, and it all came undone for J.Q. Halleck on lap 70. This is going to be a tough pill to swallow for that Revolution Racing team, but after the speed they showed here today, I don't doubt they're going to get that win one of these days.
Honestly, I think at this point, this is the second race I've been here in the booth for, and this is the second time that, you know, a car we thought that was dominant and looked like it had a chance to win. That's twice that's happened, because it happened to Stephen Thompson. It happened to him at Bristol, and now it happens to the 4 of Halleck here. So maybe I don't want to. Maybe drivers don't want me in the booth. Well, this happened, but again, you know, you got to tip your hat to the 83 team. They kept themselves They kept themselves close. You know, Ocean developed with the 4 car. It slowed the field up enough to where he caught the leaders. He took advantage of it.
And that's all that matters at this racetrack.
And at the end of the day, he's the one sitting in victory lane. So.
Yep. So, from Ryan Griffin and from myself as well, we'll say goodbye from Las Vegas. We'll see you again in 2 weeks' time when the Superstar Series tackles Road America for race number 6 of the season. Congratulations to Duke Anzac, though. He pulled off a mild upset here at Las Vegas. He's the winner once again after a chaotic day here in the desert.